Nobody even knows that you're here.
Alright, thanks.
Good job.
Fuck. My knees are shot. Jared! I'm waiting for you!
Get up!
That peak up there. I'm gonna start making my way up there. Good. May come down to a dead sprint, so if it does.
Copy, solid ID, 30 meters in front of you.
God damn.
After 6 hours, Jared has been captured.
Jesus Christ. That was nice. Awesome, brother.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the SERE Challenge Season 2, mostly final wrap-up. Got some guys coming in, and let's bring the contestants in. So, first of all, congratulations to the winner of SERE Challenge Season 2. And there's Jared.
Yeah. What's going on, guys?
Hey, nice mug.
You like that?
So Jared got second place over the Manzanita. I'll give him that. Manzanitas are usually the tough ones.
They were a bitch.
All right, so I want to say this. For people who don't click on playlists and watch them, this was actually the second time episode 9 ran. So attention to detail, grunts. But so how'd you guys like it the second time around?
Let's tell that story because that was really funny. Jared hits me up now. If you guys don't know, Randall's in Germany right now, so he's like kind of a reverse, time. So Randall hits me up, or Jared hits me up, midday, which would be Randall sleeping, and he's like, "Dude, episode 9 is live," and I'm like, "Oh." Because at this point we're on like episode 6 or 7 or something at the time. And he's like, "Yeah, go to the playlist." And I go to the playlist, and sure as shit, there it is. So most people don't know this. It's like a glitch in YouTube. If you set a video as unlisted, but you add it to a playlist, if somebody goes to that playlist, that video, even though it's unlisted, will be in there, right? Because if you have it set for unlisted, anybody can watch that video. They just don't have if they have a direct link, right? Well, by putting it in the playlist, you're essentially putting the direct link in that playlist. So we don't think anybody saw it because we were all like trying to figure out how many views there was on the video. And like, well, I watched it or clicked on it like 3 times, and like trying to do the math. So it was really funny though, because we're all trying to wake up Randall while he's in Germany asleep. And
it's like midnight in Germany, and we're all sitting there trying to call him and text him like, "Dude, wake the fuck up."
somebody posted like the gif of Lee Ermey like hitting the trash can with the baton.
Yeah, I wake up and usually that group is quiet, but I just see all this activity in the group, and then I saw the Marine thing, Lee Ermey with the trash can lid. Like, what are they talking about, man? Like, wake up, Randall. Oh shit. So if anybody out there actually caught that, put it in the comments, because I'm curious. I watched it like 10 times, because I upload them unlisted, and then I watch them just to double check for any kind of, screwy shit going on. Stoker's the only guy that gets to watch them before these guys, so he watches them a couple times. And we've still missed things before. Go figure. You got 2 grunts running quality control. That's bad. So, all right. So we're going to do something special tonight, guys. I put together like a little highlight reel. So I'm just going to play that. And it's kind of cut up. But so I have stopping points where I want to ask specific questions. But if you guys want to, if you want to jump in and say something, kind of like a director's cut, just go ahead and jump in. And quality is going to be low, everybody, because we're live streaming, so you got to cut the bit rate down.
In such a way, it kind of helps force the narrative. And and with a sawing motion, you're just going to go back and forth as fast as you can, and it'll cut right through it. Boom.
We're going to transport Brent over to a separate location
More importantly, to give him his own survivor briefing, but also to get him away from Jared, so Jared does not see what will be happening tonight.
You're muted, dude.
First thing, let's see. Oh, actually, I missed one already. Okay, it's all right. All right, so Brent, when we actually, we talked about this before, but I wanted to cover it again. So your spider senses were kind of tingling when we told you to get up and go, but how well was the sell-off once we started telling you it was to get some shots?
It was awesome. Again, I had it in my mind. Obviously in the back of my mind, I'm always suspicious of everything, but I wasn't thinking, I was going to be thrown into this competition within hours of getting there. Like that wasn't on my mind, and it makes sense, because I am a YouTuber. I understand things like, hey, put on all your stuff so that when we film this, it looks like it's at a certain time or whatever. I know that, right? So like maybe Jared doesn't have any experience with filming, YouTube videos, so he would have been like, wait, that doesn't make any sense, But like for me as a YouTube guy, making my own videos, like that makes sense to me, right? So when you tell me, hey, put on everything you're gonna be wearing for the challenge, we're gonna go down to this other location, I'm gonna give you a brief, and I need to film it, and I need to make it look like you're, dressed for the competition. It all makes sense to me. So like completely sold. It was great setup.
Awesome. Yeah, that's I purposely went that way because I figured that would work on you.
And before you got there, Brent, they did that with me earlier in the day, in the afternoon. Bill told me, get all your gear on and everything. We're going to go down and do some interviews and just do some shooting and stuff. I'm like, well, shit, here it goes. It's going to start now, and they're going to capture me now, and it's on, so. But we went and did that, and we came back, and I kind of relaxed a little bit after that. And so whenever they did it to you, I kind of had an idea they were going to do that to you too. Just spidey senses, just watching body language and everybody's dialogue and everything.
Yeah. I mean, if you come out to something like this, you're pretty much on edge no matter what. That's what I figured, but we just try to do our best to, play it off. Like, hey, we need to move you over here just to do some stuff. All right, let's keep rolling.
Get down!
Get him! Shoot that motherfucker! You! Get out of the buggy! Keep your hands up! Keep your hands up! Walk towards me! In front of the buggy! You're in front of the light! Pistol! You have anything else on you? Sit back on your knees. All right, let's get this dirtbag out of here. Your little butt buddy got what was coming to him. Let's get this big boy out this truck. Don't move, don't move. There, roll in. Go. Stop. Up. Sit down! Sit down! Don't move!
How'd you like crawling through the darkness with your hands bound?
I mean, I didn't know where the hell I was. I had been moved. It seemed like I was transferred from like 3 different vehicles. Come to find out it was essentially the same vehicle. But, I was blindfolded and a head covering over me the whole time. Couldn't barely see anything. Just some like blurry lights that were peeking in through the pillowcase or whatever is over my head.
No, fuck you! Fuck all of you! You go to hell!
Star stunning performance right there, by the way.
The Crucible Marines.
20 minutes of meow meow.
My kids love that part, by the way.
Leave it to your own thoughts. and we can get you back on that truck and get you back to your patrol base.
Tired, hungry, and very cold. Reminding the prisoner that this could last forever will have him questioning his resilience under such conditions.
And I can tell you guys as I'm watching this, like the smoke blowing out and the light in your face, like the ambiance of all that was just spot on, man. It was very immersive.
Yeah, I wanted to stop here just to remind people. So I think, something like this, I can truly understand why like Hollywood shows fake stuff. I finally understood that going through this because, number one, it's really hard to get across the point of, well, a lot in this, but during this interrogation part, there's a lot of discomfort happening. There's a lot of variables that we're throwing at you to kind of mess you up. And so I put the temperature on the screen, but, until people have sat still for that long in 20-degree weather, with their hands bound in an uncomfortable chair, all that, they just don't get it. Plus, watching Jared's and going through this, I realized, we got two guys that have been pretty much conditioned to discomfort, especially Brent. Every branch jokes with one another, but, a big thing for the Army is whenever we would hang out with Marines, they're like, yeah, we get treated the worst. So if somebody is the most uncomfortable in the military, from what I've heard, it's the freaking Marines. But the point is, we got two guys who have been, through all kinds of shit. So you can't even get like on y'all's faces or reactions or anything. You can't even really grasp the discomfort. So that's, there's a lot going on there, but I just wanted to point that out that, it's hard to show all that. And then we're also dealing with the guys who are, I've been through plenty of sucks. All right.
In the morning, turd.
Also, an element to this is you got all this discomfort, all the elements and everything, and the survivor also knows he's going to have a 24-hour run. So that's a mental variable right there is, Brent, you got to be sitting there thinking like, fuck, man, I got to suffer through all this. And then I got to go out there and possibly be awake and freeze my ass off for 24 hours.
Right up that gulch. I want him dead. I want his family dead. I want his balls on a platter. We're coming for you, Brent.
That was a star-stunning performance by Stoker. The balls on the platter.
Yeah, so Jared, were you pretty pumped up coming down there for your insertion, or you were mostly just freezing your ass off?
I was pretty cold coming down there. The wind on the quad was pretty intense. But yeah, I was pumped up. I was ready to go. I'm already tired at that point anyhow, but that doesn't matter. But yeah, definitely pumped up. And you have in your mind, well, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to get Brent in 10 minutes. It's not going to happen, but it's in your mind. Just hoping you're going to come across them out there.
So again, guys, none of this is really planned or staged with the contestants. So Jared, what were you expecting to roll up to on your insertion versus what you actually came into with like Bill yelling at you?
I really didn't know. I didn't really have an expectation of what that was going to be like or anything. Just one of those things. I just had to go with whatever was given to me at that moment.
Did Bill get you pumped up any extra, or were you just still freezing off?
I was yelling back, "Why the fuck did you let him go?" And stuff like that. I don't think he made that into the cut, but just trying to get pumped up for it, and trying to put on a little bit of a show for your show. Try to put some dialogue into it.
Yeah, so you got some suffering too, because if nobody's been on an ATV for 20 minutes in freezing cold weather, it sucks. It sucks ass.
Yeah, I want to point out a comment somebody made on one of the episodes where they were like, "I don't know why anybody trusts Stoker anymore. He's lost a radio and 2 prisoners."
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. That was yeah. That was good.
He lost the radio twice.
Yeah, we found one. Yeah, then he loses 2 prisoners.
Right.
We haven't lost a gun or a contestant yet, though, so we're good.
Well, there's next season.
I got some wood right here. I'm knocking on it.
I'm gonna go get some Brent. You said you're coming for me. I'm coming for you, dude. You're gonna freeze.
Right that way.
We're going to be waiting on you at your LZ no later than 23 hours from now. From here, you need to head northeast. How copy?
Roger, solid copy. Survivor out.
So, Brent, how was your cuff cutting course? Getting it in a classroom environment versus doing it on the ground in the field under stress?
It took a second. I tried to expedite it. I tried to kind of like circumvent because like when they did the, when we did the little, hip pocket class with Stoker, which is funny because like I did the prac app with the class with Stoker. I did the tape and Jared did the 550 chord. And then in this challenge, it was reversed, right? So I tried to expedite it at first. I made one loop and put it on my foot. And then I went through, through the hole. And then I tried to like, jerry rig it, but that wasn't going so well. So then I was like, fuck it, I got to do it. How we instructed. I made 2 loops. But thinking back on it, I had a K-bar inside my gear. So had I found that K-bar sooner, I probably would have just went to the K-bar and tried to cut it quicker that way. Because I already had one hand free. So that might have saved me some time, but it is what it is.
All right. I was just curious if that affected you at all. So the loadout, I'm just going to let this one play. That's why I sped it up. So were there anything, I know you guys watched the first season. Was there anything, Brent, you expected in your loadout that you didn't get, or things you got that you were surprised about?
I was expecting some survival stuff like fire making stuff, radio, obviously, some GoPro stuff. I was hoping for shit paper. There was none. I had pre-packed my butt pack with like a woolly pulley sweater, for warmth. So that was kind of disheartening when I opened that sucker up, and that was gone. And the only thing in there was my watch cap and a pair of gloves and a sniper veil. So
yeah, and I went in there and raped it all and took it all out.
Yeah, because when I first got it to the cabin, that was one of the first things Randall did. He's like, hey, you have your gear? And I was like, yeah. And I had already pre-packed it, right? So I hand him my, my Deuce gear, and he walks off into some other room. He's like, yeah, I got to load it up with some stuff. And that was the last I saw of it until, the challenge later on when I grabbed it off the chair. So
next time I'll take people's tactical stuff and I'll replace it with like a road guard vest or something. So I didn't see too many.
You got all the food, Brent, and I got the shit paper. I didn't get any food, so I didn't even need my shit paper.
Hey, if I could go back in time, I would swap my protein bars for the shit paper for sure.
Well, I think I realized it. No, I didn't. I had totally forgot, Brent, until you told me. But I knew there was a cravat and other stuff, and there's leaves out there. You should have done like an improv video with manzanita leaves, like just tiny little. But I was going to say with the loadouts, I didn't see too much trash talking about them this year. And I think it's because people realized, like last year, people were saying they got too much stuff. But this year, I think I only saw it after Brent, you made it up there. People were talking about it, but you know, you got to remember this is a possible 24-hour event. So if you consider, you know, 400 calories of food for 24 hours in that kind of environment, 1 canteen of water, no shit paper, and look at the temperatures. Like that was my main concern. I wanted to make sure you had something to improvise with in the temperatures. And so we'll see. For season 3, there's going to be some changes in that area, and we'll get to see a little bit more improvisation. I'm not going to give it away, but you know, a thing with the survival community, it's all sexy on YouTube, but if realistically, if somebody is chasing you and you're evading, if you want to do a fire, I mean, it better be like the baddest freaking Dakota fire with the tree over it, all that shit, you know. But still, at the end of the day, we have noses. So even in pitch black, if you hide it from sensors and everything else, you know, a scout smells smoke within a kilometer, you're done. So I think last year we had some people upset about that. No fires or no super survival fires, but it is what it is. So this part was for Stoker, but we'll use Jared on this one. So Stoker's coming out there to meet you, Jared, as the hunter. Did he call you in advance, or did he just come up on you and say, "Hey, I'm near you"?
No, he called me in advance, probably 20 minutes or so before he met up with me. He said, "Hey, I'm going to come meet up with you," and excuse me. So I just picked a spot and just hunkered down there and just guided them into me. And so I gave him my base layers, my grid fleece and stuff, because I was getting pretty warm at that point. It was mid-morning, and I was starting to get a little sweaty. So I just passed off my base layers, my warming layers to him.
So was that pretty handy, being able to drop off stuff and get extra stuff from him?
It was, yeah, for sure. You know, and it had it not happened, you know, you just improvise, do what you have to do.
So I know you guys are comfortable in the woods, otherwise you wouldn't be out there, but did that have any kind of psychological effect on you, Jared, having him come out there and hang out with you for a little bit, like a morale boost or anything like that?
No, not really. I was more worried that it was going to give away my location more than anything. Just now you have 2 people out there moving in the same area. You know, but it is what it is. You know, I didn't mind him coming out. It was a good time to pass off some of my gear to him and just take a little bit of a break. You know, I got an intel update while he was there. Got my hourly intel update.
Kind of stuff I'm dealing with right now. I've spent more time crawling on my hands and knees and on my belly than I've liked. But if you guys can see, this is what ends up happening. You get in this big patch of manzanitas, and you gotta look for an opening. Like that's my opening right there, that little tiny crevice. So Hire says I'm cleared to move. Enemies moved out of my area, but they are on the move. They are moving around, so just to be extra vigilant. So I'm gonna pick up. I'm gonna start moving.
So that's re-emphasizing the lack of intel the survivors get. The hunter would usually get like a 3Ds, distance, direction, and kind of their last activity. The survivors, I did all of their sit reps, and it was basically it was either a course correction and or you're clear to move, or it would be like hunker down or something pretty vague like that, because I didn't want to give them too much to give anything away. I wanted to keep them working, but I wanted to give them like just enough, you know, as if it's some guy, I don't know, you know, remote or whatever, trying to help them out. Like, so did that, how did that work for you guys? having these cryptic sit reps as a survivor?
It was good. And my trek was very tough. I mean, it was like Manzanitas from the get go. So to move through all that made just an incredible amount of noise. So to get those sit reps, so like, hey, your northeasterly course is open at this time, like it's a godsend, right? Or I might get an intel like, hey, you're going to need to hunker down for a while because you have enemy all around you, or something like that, right? Like that was important because you're making your way through that just thick ass stuff, and you're making a lot of noise trying to get through it. So for me, it was like damn near crawling the whole time, moving exceptionally slow. So it was very vital and important to get that stuff, and it's not that unrealistic in the fact that, like, hey, I have a survival radio or whatever, and I'm talking to my hire, and they might be observing overhead with the UAV asset up in the air, and they're looking down, and this is what they see, and this is what they're telling you.
Jared, did that bug you at all? The limited intel, or was it good enough?
No, I thought the intel updates were good. Like you said in one of the episodes, that I chased the intel reports a lot, and that's exactly what I did. Trying to either stay behind him on his tail, or try to get into a position where he would come across me parallel, come across my position. The intel reports were, I think, crucial and more important than any of the other perks out there that we had.
Yeah, that's some of the changes I'm planning on putting in there in the next seasons. I'm gonna, of course, every season I'm gonna change some stuff up, but I'm already wargaming season 3 with Stoker and how he can kind of flip flop things and throw pretty much everybody off. All right. But the common theme I've seen is the hunter could use some more support, even though we beefed it up from the first season. So we're going to beef it up even more. And so this is Jared's up there at the extraction point.
Base layer back on. And
kind of setting in for a little OP up there. He knows Brent is getting pretty close.
And set up a listening post, and just trying to stay 1 or 2 steps ahead of him. And I felt like I was.
We're also dealing with a vehicle down issue. That's the radio chatter that's happening.
Here we are over on this side now.
This is my bird.
After 11 and a half hours, Brent has reached the extraction point.
So, Brent, at this time, is it? Well, let me leave that up there. Is it going through your mind at all that you have set a new time limit for Jared? Have you thought about that yet?
No. Is that accurate? I traveled 7.5 miles.
This is your total.
Okay.
So you traveled, I think it was about 4, right at 4 as a survivor. And then your survivor elevation was 2,800. So this is like your total for the whole game.
Okay, gotcha. No, so like going through this challenge, I knew absolutely nothing, right? I've never seen the AO before, other than an overhead shot, which didn't match up at all in my head from what I was looking at when I was out there on the ground. I had no idea the distance from where I started to the end point. Literally all I was going off of is, hey, you need to travel northeast. That was it. So I had no concept as far as me needing to beat Jared at a time game. Like I didn't know that was a thing until about 3/4 of the way into the challenge. You know, in my head, it was like, hey, I'm gonna be traveling for a long time. You know, I'm probably gonna make it to the extraction point in the wee hours of the morning or early in the morning. So there was just absolutely a lot unknown when I was a survivor going through this.
All right, so you didn't. All right, cool. So I'll do this up here, guys. This is pretty accurate. I double checked this with our trackers and everything. That's also how I got most of the elevation gain. But by the way, future competitors, things will change and the AO will change. So go ahead and take your screenshots all you want. Doesn't matter. But as you can see, Brent is the blue line, of course, friendly. And he stayed very, very south in the AO until toward the end. And so I know, like, we kept saying northeast and everything, but that was try to get you on your original bearing, you know, but you just, because of the terrain and everything, you took a very easterly course, which is fine. You would have ended up there. Well, I don't know. I won't give that away, but
well, it's also, you got to point out, it's hard to tell by this map, but like if you look at Jared's line, like Jared's walking over very, very tall hills, like very steep inclines for me. So, you know, in the beginning, I was literally paralleling these giant hill. I mean, you can see them if you go back to early episodes and look, you'll see them looking up at these huge inclines, right? And I even point out to him like, hey, if I was Jared, I'd be up there. And looking at his lines, he pretty much was there. So.
Yeah, and this is zoomed out. So there's a lot of zigzags and all that stuff going on in there, but you know, just for people who haven't seen stuff like that. So yeah, 7.5 miles total and 5,700 foot elevation gain. So Coleman, whenever you watch this, you and your backpacker buddies can suck that, because I'd like to see you guys do that crawling half the time.
Ready? Go. Go, go, go. Go, go, go. Clear. Clear. Get down. Get down. Get down.
No one actually told.
All right, so I put up the time up there just so we could address that, but we got back up to the place and Brent pretty much went to sleep. I think you might have eaten something and gone to sleep. But we stayed up for a while planning your revenge for you. And I think me and the team went to bed at about midnight or shortly after midnight. So Jared, I don't remember. I know we told you to go lay down, but you remember about what time you laid down?
I don't know. I probably laid down pretty close to then, you know, and I just laid there awake because obviously I knew something was going to happen. I didn't know exactly when. So I might have dozed off for 20 minutes or so here or there. I didn't catch the time that it happened. I think it was about 3:30 or 4 in the morning. But yeah, I just mostly laid there, you know, just waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, so describe the shock and awe. I had about a 2,000 lumen freaking tack light on strobe mode, straight at your face. We got a siren. We got violence of action. Even if you're expecting it, you know, did that at least piss you off?
No, it didn't piss me off. I didn't know what to expect. So when it happened, I mean, yeah, obviously it's very bright. You know, you're trying to look past the light, not into it, but past it, and trying to get some intel of who's behind the light. You know, and all I could tell was there was two figures and a dog, and I think the dog Riggs was very concerned about me. But you know, at that point, you know, You just have to obey commands that they're giving you.
Yeah, I kind of thought it was funny that they were yelling commands at you for a very long time while I'm strobing you, and I'm sitting there thinking like he can't see a fucking thing. So finally, Stoker took over and actually grabbed you and threw you down. So a lot of people think, just from the comments, it seems like some people think that you kind of had some kind of idea of how you were going to react. And so once again, none of this, the contestants had no idea when the capture was going to take place. So Brent, you know, got thrown off by getting an op order the night before he was supposed to start. And so Jared got captured in the house. So two totally different scenarios and methods of attack. So Jared, did you kind of have, you kind of saw Brent get captured down there in the road, but did that go through your mind at all, how you were going to react to being captured or anything?
No, because you don't know how it's going to play out. You know, I figured mine was going to be different than his capture. So, you know, I'm the type of person, I just deal with whatever is thrown at me at the moment. You can plan for all kinds of different contingencies and whatnot, and then the exact opposite happens that you didn't plan for. So you just have to kind of think on your feet and kind of go with it at the moment.
So all the stuff you said to us and to Stoker, that was all just on the fly. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. You know, I did kind of have in my head that I was going to be just a smart ass and mess with you guys as much as I could. But, you know, by the time you guys captured me, did the home invasion on me and captured me, I was pretty tired, and it was getting hard to think on my feet with smart ass things to say.
Yeah. Well, it made it entertaining. I was going to point out, so people, if you remember Brent's captivity, we put him in there. I think he sat in darkness and sound isolation for a while. We made him kind of sit and just contemplate. We wanted to get his mind working, make him wonder what the hell's going on. So let's cover that. Brent, after seeing your interrogation and the initial method Stoker used, what do you what am I looking for here? You see the difference, right?
Yeah, weak sauce.
But I mean, Stoker comes in hard charging with Jared from the very beginning. Jared gets put in there and just starts getting yelled at. We actually made you sit for a pretty long time.
No, I'm just busting his balls. It was different. I'm just busting his balls because like I had no worming layer. Jared was sleeping in his freaking utilities with his boots on and ready to rock and roll essentially. So yeah, it was different. Atmospherics is different too. You know, he's in a shed. Jared's in a shed he's never been into. That was the same shed that I got my little mock brief in before they captured me. So it's good. Like I got taken out in the middle of nowhere, put in a tent, you know, no idea where I'm at. Right now, Jared's got no idea where he's at. He's never been at that location. So
yeah. So Jared, were you expecting an attack like that from the beginning from Stoker, or were you assuming you'd be sitting there in silence for a while?
You mean like for the interrogation part?
Yeah.
I don't know if I was expecting it or not. I mean, again, it's just one of those things that you go with. You know, I didn't know what to expect. So I was expecting the unexpected the entire week we were out there.
Yeah, my training, we got a mixture of everything just so they could show us different approaches and all that stuff. Like the silent treatment in the beginning, just to get you thinking, that's kind of more of like the detective approach. Just let them sit there, monitor them, you know, and just watch them get nervous and stress out and shit. So let's see. Let's keep rolling.
What are you doing here?
You brought me here.
No, why are you in my country?
My country.
Wrong. You invaded my country. You American pigs come into my country. What is your mission? let the Cobra Commander know that he's resisted our interrogation efforts here, and we're going to bring him in to Cobra Main.
Roger.
Get up!
We going right now?
Get up!
We going right now?
Get up!
All right, so Brent got moved once. He got moved in and out of the truck, but he got taken to his interrogation cell and stayed there. We wanted to move Jared around. Plus, we also wanted to change up the escape. So, Jared, what were you thinking when we moved you? From your
Basically, just that you're moving locations on me. I didn't know if you were taking me somewhere else. I didn't know if you were taking me out to shoot me. You could have taken me off to throw me in a lake somewhere for all I knew. You know, you just kind of have to go with it at that moment.
Were you considering escape while you were being moved? Were you starting to think that might be your chance?
I was, yeah. You know, and I was trying to. I knew I was on a vehicle. I was holding on to that rope. Not being able to see around me and having a chance to look, knowing that if I pulled my hood up, that I would have gotten yelled at, you know, or told to put back on, or got shot at that point. So you have to play that game a little bit, and just wait to see what happens, and hopefully an opening comes up, which whenever Bill had to go take a poop in the woods, those are the kind of moments you have to kind of wait for.
All right. So how about we're coming up on your escape. So, well, there it is. How did the class you got, you know, compare doing it in the class versus doing it in the field? Your hands are probably frozen under pressure, and you're doing it at escape.
So whenever they captured me and put the duct tape on my wrists, they did put it over top of my uniform blouse on the cuffs, and then I also, whenever they did that, I interlocked my fingers and spread my wrists apart so I could maintain some kind of space between my wrists and keep that duct tape loose. I could tell that they were using duct tape, so I kept my wrist as far apart as I could without it being noticed, just to maintain that little bit of a gap in the duct tape, so it would stay loose or be loose.
Yeah, next time we're gonna do some hand duct taping classes before the thing. We covered everything but that because I wanted to see some hair getting ripped off. Yeah, you know, and we also, well, I thought you were going to escape and run like that and then break your shit off in the woods. So, like, guys, we gave Jared his window to escape, but we didn't tell him exactly how to do it. So, what made you decide to break your duct tape right there on the spot before jumping out of the truck?
Just because I knew I could do it at that point. The duct tape was loose, and I've been working it, stretching it back and forth, and was able to slip my hands out of it and break it. So I knew I was going to be able to do that very easily whenever the truck stopped. So I just took that opportunity and did it then. It took a half a second to do it. So I wasn't going to be running away through the woods, stumbling over myself with my hands bound together, trying to carry gear that I stole off the truck. And so it took a half second to do that.
And so, Brent, you were able to slip one of your hands out. Did you do that when you escaped as well? Or did you wait till you got off in the woods?
No, I did that when I was in the hooch. So like I had I think it was a wool blanket or something over me, maybe like a poncho liner. And I slipped my hand out. And then, so I had one flexi cuff still on one wrist and then one hand free. So, and that none of that was by design, guys. Like that was all just pure chance. So like the guy that taped Jared Jared was able to keep his, some more gap in there to give him more leverage. Same thing for me. One of my flexi cuffs wasn't tight all the way down to the point where I could actually finagle my wrist out. So that was mere chance. That wasn't like by design or anything. So, it's just those things, right? When you're dealing with an enemy, the enemy might be a conscript, right? He might be there, just swooped up at a local village and given like a couple days worth of training, and now he's on the front lines. So you don't know who you're dealing with. So that stuff could happen.
Yeah, I think people that trash the bad guys in this series, they give Joe too much credit. I really do, because I served with some awesome dudes, but we've also handled prisoners, and I've seen the way an American soldier would watch a prisoner, and it's like, dude, if that guy could fight, like most of our prisoners could not, it's like, you're done, dude. So just something to think about, guys. It's not all Hollywood, man. Guys have to poop. They like to smoke cigarettes. Bad guys get tired, like we were all up at night messing with these guys too. So
yeah, and it's like if you go and watch through my videos on my channel, like you can just pick out the comments like, oh, you're walking too loudly, or any other given comment. It's like, dude, I'd like to see you on some of these patrols I've been on, right, in combat, in theater, and after 8 hours of patrolling, see how stealthily you are moving through a given AO.
There is no stealth out there in those manzanitas and that dry stuff laying on the ground. There's no stealth at all.
Well, it's all relevant, I mean, you could probably be stealthy, but it will take you 24 hours to move a mile. So, it's all relevant to the situation. That's why we say Met TC. But yeah, you got a point there about the keyboard warriors. I would invite them to come out for free and we put them through this stuff, but we know they won't show up. So,
well, yeah, it's funny is Grand Thumb actually did a video not too long ago. Right? This guy that was like claiming he could make the shot with a 22, long rifle. And he actually had the guy come out. It's like, okay, do the shot, and the guy couldn't do it.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
All right, so we're getting into
Jared has no idea where he was inserted.
So Brent, how was your insertion as the hunter? Were you pretty freaking pumped up and ready to kill everybody, or just cold and ready to get going?
Oh no, I was stoked, fellas. I was absolutely ready to go. When I got down on the ground, it was all business for me. And I remember Randall was like, "Hey, do you want to yell and taunt, Jared?" And I was like, "No, I don't want him knowing where I'm at, and I just want to get going." So he's like, he can hear you. And I'm like, no. So yeah, I was all business, ready to rock and roll. And I was kind of amazed at it would seem like a just completely different environment, right? Because I remember like when I started, I was going through this thick vegetation almost immediately. Right. And then I'm starting here and it's like, it's a little bit more open, right? You can actually move through this terrain. So that was like the big thing. I was like, this is, different. It doesn't even look like the same shit I was in yesterday.
Yeah. And we talked about your distance somewhere coming up in here.
Long way yesterday. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, so you fucking back that up at all? No, it's too big of a file. But anyway, when you said that, if you were looking straight ahead, probably off to your 11 o'clock, that was your route going up. So I think that's what triggered Roy to actually say that, because he was getting into, like, if you would have gone just a little bit more north or west, you would actually hit this trail that we're on now. Yeah, so the area, I don't know what it is. It doesn't seem like any kind of specific hilltop that does it or anything, but the area is very different all over the place. And so you can see that up top, it's just this kind of high desert manzanita looking stuff. And then once you start getting down there, of course, in the low ground, you got more water, so you're going to have, you know, more trees and better foliage, but it just varies. It seems like every freaking major terrain feature you cross, like you said, you got like dinosaur land and you got wide open shit. And so Jared climbed probably 300 something feet in his first freaking ascent. That's one of the toughest grades I've been on in that area, as far as like, you know, steepness versus length covered. So, you know, again, Jared's been sitting for hours. He's been sitting in the cold for hours. You got the truck ride, and then he's got to escape. And I know for me, my legs would be freaking, it'd take me a little bit to get warmed up. So Jared, how much did that initial ascent mess you up?
It sucked. It sucked pretty bad, you know, but I just had to push through it. You know, I just trying to get off the X and just get as much distance as I could between me and Brent, because I knew he was on his way down, or going to be soon.
Yeah. Yeah, see, being a Mississippi dude sitting there in cold weather like that, I probably would have looked like a drunk dude jumping off that truck. Maybe next time we do that to Brent, make him sit for a while and then jump off the back of the truck. But at Brent's height, he just has to step down.
Yeah, it's like a half step for him.
All right, so you guys can both talk about this, but this is Jared's first danger area crossing that main road. So Brent, since we missed yours, let's just talk about going through a danger area real quick. What are your thoughts when you're coming up to a big wide open space like that as a survivor?
Oh, well, obviously it's, you know, it's dangerous, right? Because it's like on a road. I think, if I remember, I think I had to cross two decent prominent danger areas. One was like what I thought was like a trail, but ended up being like a dry creek bed. And that was just before and during when Stoker was loud hailing me. And then later on I had to cross another trail. So I remember coming up to like just the edge and, you know, making sure clearing my left and right, and then just running, you know, through those as fast as possible. The dry creek bed, I did take my time and moved a lot more slower because I didn't know exactly what I was dealing with. And the terrain was a lot tougher getting down there. And so that was a little bit different. So.
All right, Jared, what's your strategy for crossing that road the first time?
So this is when I was the survivor.
Yeah, like I'm wondering did you have any kind of like training in this, or did you even know that term danger area, or did you just?
Oh yeah. So when I approached it, I saw the road coming up, obviously, and it curved away from me in either direction. You know, I was kind of on the outside apex of that curve of the road. So I had a pretty good view down each side. And I knew I wanted to get across it as quickly as I could. And I looked both ways before I crossed the road, and you got to take a chance. You know, if somebody's holed up in a hide spot down 50 meters down the road, you're not going to be able to see them. The headquarters truck, the ice cream truck, was, I don't know, 50 meters down the road. I saw it as I was crossing the road.
Yeah, that was later on. This first time, the only thing that was around you was maybe one of the ATVs and our buggy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that is when I kept coming up onto the road, and I finally just got pissed off and said, I'm just going to go across the road. So yeah, there was ATVs going back and forth on the road, and I was just waiting those out. Wait till they get a little distance away so I can hear what's coming from the other direction, see which way they're going. Again, I was on the outside apex of that curve, so I was able to see fairly decently down each way. So I just crossed the road cautiously, you know. and quickly and cautiously.
Yeah. So what would have been your plan if you would have seen a scout or somebody sitting on a vehicle or something? Just take off sprinting, go back the other direction, or keep plowing through?
Probably try to get off that X at that point, try to get as much distance, because if a scout sees you, they're going to report your location to the hunter. As it was that first time I crossed the road, I don't think it made it into the series. When I did get across the road, it kind of crusted over top of a little hill when I got across, and then I went back down the other side. When I got up to the top of that crest, I could smell Stoker's cigarette up there, so I knew he was in the area. I don't know how far. I didn't see him. He didn't see or hear me or anything. But I could smell his cigarette up there, so I knew specifically he was close by to me. And then I went down over the crest of the hill on the opposite, a little further away from the road. And it sounded like Brent was coming up through the brush at that point. So I kind of held up there for about 45 minutes or so. And then I went back across the road and just did the same thing, just quickly and cautiously as you could, to get back across the road and excuse me, and just get over the other side and away from that area of activity right there.
Yeah, you had a lot of these types of crossing, and you went through some pretty open areas. We'll cross into that a little bit. So we're at just about an hour. You guys want to take a quick break?
Sure.
I'm all hopped up on coffee and infantry hookers and blow, man. I know Brent's usually the one that's like standing up doing the dance.
I think it's usually me that's getting up to go piss.
I hardly ever take a piss break during his live stream.
Well, let's give people something to come back to, because I'm not sure how much longer we're going to go. So let's go ahead and knock it out now, and then we'll just wrap it up after that.
All right.
Plus, I like teasing people. Just the tip. All right. See, at least I give people something to look at. All right, I got to pull that stuff back up. So if you guys got a burning question, go ahead and throw it in there now, and we'll get to it.
I want to talk about the extraction because I saw that question come up earlier. The relocation.
Yep.
So I saw a couple people saying, saying the hunter knowing where the extraction is, or like relocation to the extraction isn't fair. And I want to remind everybody, Jared was at the extraction point, and I still made it in. Well, the extraction point is actually a very large area. Randall could probably tell you the specifics, but you have 24 hours to make it into there. And then I also want to point out that, if you see some of these Mac VSOG interviews and those guys and stuff, like the NBA, there's only so many LZs in an area, right? Like, what do you need for an LZ? You need an open, clear area for a helicopter to land. Well, if you're dealing with local insurgents or enemy in their own territory, they're going to know where those open, large areas are where a bird can land, right? So if you're dealing with a SERE situation where you have an escapee from a POW camp, they're going to know where the open areas are that are suitable for LZs. And chances are they're going to have enemy spotters on those areas. So it's not unconceivable that, a hunter is able to relocate to that LZ given those type of parameters, right? Enemy knowing what the good, what makes a good LZ. There's only so many LZs in the area. If the enemy's, getting close to that LZ, well, I guess let's go to that area because that's probably where they're going to get picked up at. So it's not unforeseen.
If you have a large enough enemy force, they're going to be in all those LZ and in all the extraction points. They're going to have a team or whatever in all of them.
Right, and if you go to the pilot rescue of I think it was Scott O'Brady, those rescue birds rolled in with a freaking whole rifle company to make that rescue mission. So it's when you're doing this stuff, it's under the impression hey, you're rolling into a hot extraction.
Yeah, it's such a large area. It never even crossed my mind that could be an issue because there's so many, little game trails through there, and both of you guys used it. So yeah, I think that's I don't know, maybe a misunderstanding of it. So it's good that you mentioned the LZ stuff and NOM, even if, so this is going to come up in future seasons, but just to kind of cover it a little bit, even if you didn't know, eventually you would start to look around for high grounds, and you might try that either way, but yeah. So here's a question for you, Brent. Would you have walked right by Jared if he didn't grab you?
I don't think so because, here's the thing. The Manzanitas are really tall, right? I saw Jared's face. So what tipped me off at first was the bush moved. So I was playing end zone defense, right? And when I first got there, I'm looking at the area, and there was two really prominent directions he could come into. So I went to the wrong one first. I went up north, and I'm looking, and I'm like, I don't know, this don't look right. I don't think it's going to be this one. So I started running back to the I think it's southeast area. And then I was as I'm moving down there, I just dropped all my stuff, and I moved down there. And I'm like, you know what? My last intel update was he was moving at a 90-degree azimuth. He was 300 meters out at a 90-degree azimuth to the extraction point. So I think I did a back azimuth from there, and I walked up, and I'm looking at my back azimuth, right? And I look up, and I see a bush go. I was like, and there was no wind, guys. There was absolutely no wind that day. And I was like, well, that's not normal. So I moved a little bit closer. Well, that's when I called for backup, right? Because I wanted to get everybody down there, get online with all my scouts, and then move online into that area. So I moved up into position while I was waiting for the rest of the scouts and stuff to get down there. And all of a sudden, Jared's, his white face comes popping up because he didn't put cami paint on. And I was like, I got positive ID. But once my scouts weren't walking up, I was like, I was like, oh, I don't want to lose him. This is the first time I've seen him all day, you know. So I started to walk down there, you know, slowly but surely. And obviously, I stepped right in front of him, or right next to him. But you know, that's because the manzanitas, as you guys can see, are so tall. I don't think I would have walked right past him. I literally stepped on him, practically.
Well, I had to move my hand out of the way because I had my hand planted out in front of me because I was down on all fours. And if I hadn't moved my hand out of the way, you would have stepped on my hand.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
and the
Jared,
reason I say,
did it cross your mind at all to just try to lay face down and let it play out and see if he would walk past you?
Yes and no, you know, but whenever he walked up on me like that, I saw the opportunity to kind of get the jump on him. I knew it was the survivor capturing the hunter at that point, and it was not going to be a win for me, but to pass up that opportunity to get that on the Brent, I couldn't pass that up. So I kind of forfeited it for that part of the bragging rights. You know, and it was funny. You know, it was a great ending to it. I think it played out really well. Not just because of that, but you know, at that point, the series was done. I got up there really quick. I don't know. I really don't know how I moved up that far that fast. But with Brent almost basically stepping on me, you know, I just kind of called it and I reached up and I grabbed his leg and surprised the shit out of him.
Yeah. Somebody was saying in the premiere in the chat that if there was guns, Brent would have been smoked.
I mean, I could have done a textbook sentry takedown on him. You know, just there's all kinds of things that you could have done at that point. But I think at that point, me forfeiting it for the comedy part of it and just having fun with it was what I did.
well, let's put this in perspective, guys. If old Brent was out there as a real hunter, and I saw his face pop up in the bushes like 50 yards in front of me, I ain't walking into those bushes to go tag him. He would have got a little 40 Mike hate just getting on his ass. So,
some of that predator recon by fire.
Exactly.
Right.
And that was what I had in mind, right? Getting all my scouts up there and just, you know, predator dutching it with the breaking it free.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, okay, cool. This works perfect. So I think Jared should have just frozen after getting his hand out of the way, see if Brent would walk by. Could easily happen in real life. Yeah, that actually happened to me in my sniper school. That's why I wanted to ask that. So I'm glad you guys both had your cameras rolling because it's really cool to see that, you know, I left it out what brought Brent over there. So a branch moving and then a face. So that's two indicators that brought his attention to that area. And then he decided to walk out there. But you can tell because of the manzanitas in the background, Brent still could not zero in on exactly where that movement was because he was almost 60 to 70 meters from Jared at that time, maybe 50. But that's still kind of enough to where you see Brent, you know, Brent walks by Jared and he's kind of like looking out, like over a little bit. So I kept watching the video, and from my perspective, it's 50-50. If Brent would have turned around in that direction and looked down, yeah, he would have seen a camo dude laying there. But if he would have just, you know, fuck it, just kind of headed back, not really looking down, because again, he was already kind of looking kind of too far out. You never know. But just, you know, that was, I had an experience like that in sniper school. We do 3 stalks, and you have to get to a certain range that they give you to take a shot at these, you know, 20-year freaking experts sitting in a truck on glass the whole time. They're looking for muzzle flash, movement, and all that shit. I think it was my second one I did. We were within 200 meters, and you have to take 2 shots. So you take your first shot, And if they happen to be looking in that area and they see muzzle flash or dust or something, or a branch move, they're on binos, and you know they're walking. The other instructors are out there walking around with sticks, so they're basically kind of like guiding these walkers in to where they think the shot was taken from, and that's how a lot of guys get caught. Their first shot is usually okay if the two guys in the truck aren't looking that way. But if they take that second shot, the guys are already looking in that direction. So then they're most likely going to see dust or a branch move or muzzle flash. But on my second one, me and my buddy had a horrible position, but we remembered the way they teach camouflage. The real way is you also have to consider what's behind you, not just around you. So we had like a hill going up behind us, and we had all this dark stuff, and we looked behind us and we could tell that we would blend. We couldn't get a shot laying down was the point. So we basically both got up against a tree. So we were kind of growth on a tree, but it was a dark area. So I was shooting at that time and I actually took both shots from that area. And after the first shot, he got the walker exactly in line with us. So it's about 200 meters out. So he got the walker in line with us, but he just kept telling the walker to walk this way, 50 meters, you know, and he'd say, "Sniper at your feet." And the guy would put his stick down. No, not here. So we could tell we threw off his depth perception because of all the shadows around us. So he knew where we were. He just couldn't like get that depth. And so, yeah, we actually made it that time. But Brent, you would be proud. My very first time, my first stalk, I went through school with a scout, a Cav scout. So we were both total grunts. So we did our first stalk. And I was like, dude, fuck this. Let's do bounding Overwatch. We'll just do bounding Overwatch to get up there. And so we can hear their radios, the walkers, while they're out there. And we hear them on the radio, you know, like, who are these chuckleheads out there doing fucking bounding Overwatch? Because they're sitting there looking through binos and they just see two idiots get up. One guy gets down, another guy gets up. You would never realistically do that, but we thought it was funny as hell. So naturally, we failed our first stalk by being idiots.
So I wanted to add, so whenever me and Brent saw each other, I had just gotten done crawling through Manzanitas, like on my belly, up to that point. That is the point where I came out of it. And I actually took like a 2-minute break before I popped up out of there. And when I popped my head up, I immediately saw Brent and he immediately saw me. And we were playing like whack-a-mole. We both saw each other. We both came right back down, and I popped back up again just to verify that I saw what I did, and you know, and saw him sitting there again. I'm like, oh shit, there he is for sure. You know, it all happened within a matter of 2 seconds. So, and I didn't have my cami hat on, face paint, but I saw him playing his day with face painted up just as he saw me playing his day with my white face. So I think he was a little bit more silhouetted against the background than I was. He was more uphill than I was.
Well, so I wasn't in like an LPOP or anything. I literally had just walked up there, and
right.
I saw the bush move, and I was like, "Whoa!" So I'm standing straight up, like looking. So it was very relieving.
That was Jared over there taking a piss. Yeah, when you told me you saw the movement and then his face, dude, I scrubbed the video, and you remember I asked you, I'm like, hey, can you find that point, man? But it's either the GoPro couldn't pick it up because of the contrast, or you just didn't have it pointed that way. But that would have been epic to show a freaking dude pop up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't have my camera on. I popped my head up out of there because I was just popping up to do a quick recon of the area to see what I could see, because I had been down in the Anitas for a while. I was just trying to get my bearings, and I pop up out, and there's Brent 50 meters in front of me or so, 30 meters, whatever it was.
So there's Jared's final stats. That's for the entire game, the entire event. So I think you were about the same, Jared. You were no, I think you were about 3.5 miles for your survivor run, because you did, as we can see, your blue line. You did some more zigging and zagging.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what your elevation was as a survivor. People go back and look, but total, that's some freaking that's some work, man. And then you consider how little, you know, both of y'all slept. So Coleman Outdoors, once again. Coleman Outdoors, I think he actually covered 10 miles on his survivor run in like 4 hours. He just ended up back at his insertion point getting caught. But y'all could see the difference in the route Jared took. So of course, I'm not going to show the exact insertion points, how different they are, but Jared got inserted a little northwest of where Brent escaped, and he, you know, took a lot more of a northerly route. So both events we've used less than half of this AO. So that's good to know. Like I said, we're going to change it up for all the seasons, but if anybody's trying to get some recon. So once again, guys, y'all scrubbed season 1 to try to get some intel. How much did watching season 1 and looking at the maps and all that, how much did it help you once you got on the ground?
Honestly, I kind of think that I almost would have preferred not have watching season 1, because I went into it so many preconceived notions, right? Like I went into it thinking that hey, I was going to have to build a freaking fire and build a shelter, you know, all the shit that had happened in season 1, and it was completely did not need or happen in season 2. So, you know, and that honestly, it slowed me down, because my mindset was, hey, I've got to travel, you know, extreme distance, and you know, I'm going to have to build a shelter. I'm going to have to build a fire. So it's like I had all this on my mind. So the whole time I'm going through my trek and on my escape, I'm thinking like at some point I have to stop and you know, start building like a stealth shelter and stuff. Like this is all going through my head until I called Randall, and he's like, "Yeah, man, you're only you know, 1 click away from the extraction point, and you know, it matters more about time than it does, you know, building all these like survival tasks." I was like, "Oh shit!" So.
Yeah, there was a lot of my bands in the briefings, but that one I purposely left cryptic, because, you know, again, there's a lot of mind games going into this. So I give you guys a ton of information before you come out, but a lot of that's administrative. It's not tactical in any way, because we want you guys to be like mostly in the dark. Like, what the fuck's going to happen? Go ahead, Jared.
No, I was just going to say that I watched season 1 probably 150 times. You know, just trying to gain intel on the area, what it was like and whatnot. But you also were telling us on the administrative part that you were going to have us focus more on the SERE aspect of it than the survival. I figured if you wanted us to build a shelter, you'd tell us to build a shelter or a fire or whatever. So I wasn't going to worry about that until you actually told us to do it. So the intelligence I was trying to gain by watching season 1 over and over again was just terrain guidance, but mostly just getting intel on the terrain out there, which I think paid off a little bit. I was able to recognize some areas from season 1 from when I was out there, and then I did a lot of Google Earth studying. Just sitting on the couch for hours studying Google Earth of the area. I kind of figured it out. Prior to you telling us where we were at, I actually found the area on Google Earth and pretty much pinpointed the location where you dropped Bill off at in season 1. I was able to get that pretty close, I thought, where he was dropped off at, and ran up the hill, or ran across that little dry creek bed right there. So I did a lot of intelligence gathering on that.
Yeah, when you said you were looking at the star patterns in that area that time of year, I was like, damn, this guy is not messing around, man.
Yeah.
What's
Jared
the wind direction?
When Jared told me all the stuff he did leading up to the course, I was like, holy shit. I was like, you should have just won from preparation, dude.
Hey, so that brings up another question, Jared. I showed once you got to where you could visually see the endpoint, I flashed it up there for the audience. Did you know you were looking at the endpoint those times when I flashed it on the screen?
Yeah, I think me and Brent both assumed that that area was the endpoint for us, even though it wasn't told to us. I think we both just assumed that automatically for some reason, and I think we just automatically started going in that direction.
But you, as the survivor, once you could see it, did you know? Oh, okay, shit, I'm almost there. Because I didn't tell you how close you were at the end.
No, I could tell it was there. I pretty much knew that's where it was at.
Okay.
I could see the tree patterns, and because it had the tall pine trees there up on the hillside. There wasn't a whole lot of tall pine trees down over from there. So that the area up there at the extraction point is different in reference to the fauna and everything than it is anywhere else. And it's kind of up on that high spot, and it's a little bit more flat right there. It's just easily recognizable.
So yeah, knowing other people are going to be trying to get intel from watching these, we are going to screw guys up in the future. Because I guarantee you, I could have sent you to another area we're going to use, and the way you described it, looking up, I've been down in this area, and it almost looks exactly the same. So I kind of wish we would have sent you there, Jared, and then if you would have seen this extraction point, you would have gone to that. And you'd be standing up there alone, like, "Hey guys, I'm here." Like,
right?
No, you're just standing in the open, dude. So yeah, that's good to hear. Like, because it everything really does like certain points out there, but there are a lot of areas that look almost the same as another one. But it sounds both of you guys are very good in your land nav and dead reckoning and terrain association and all that. So. I could see how, watching everything before coming out there, because you also know about where you are once you started. So that makes sense.
Hey, Randall, just because you just brought that land nav up, I got to clarify something. The whole 360 degrees in a circle thing.
I'm really disappointed you didn't know that, Brent.
What's that?
I said, I'm really disappointed in you that you didn't know that.
So first off, so I got my last 2 intel updates were garbage. And the reason I say that is because they lost GPS signal with me. So when Randall came over and linked up with me, Stoker did not have me on his GPS. So how every intel update had been before that was, hey, from your position to the survivor, it's such and such degrees at such and such distance, right? Well, that one was from Jared's last position to the endpoint or something like that, right? He's at a 90-degree heading, and he's 200 meters from his last known position or something like that. It was completely different than what I was told before. So it's like I had no idea where Jared's last position was. I was told my last intel update was like from me to him, I was so many meters or yards from him. And then that intel update was from Jared's last position. He's traveling at a 90-degree heading, 300 meters from the endpoint or something like that. And it was like completely flip-flopped. So when I heard the radio, I thought I heard him say Jared from his last known position took a 90-degree turn and is 300 meters from the endpoint. So that's what I thought. And so I'm like thinking to myself, like, he took a 90-degree turn. What was his original freaking azimuth? So when I went to specify with Stoker, he's like, there's 360 degrees in a circle. I was like, okay. Well, I completely misheard him. And Randall, back me up on this. I know you didn't hear him either. So
I was thinking the same thing. I heard that, and I was like, I thought he was giving you some kind of polar reference or something.
Yes.
And so
I thought it was a little confusing too.
But that's the thing with how we hear stuff. Because when I actually went back, we were joking about this in the group, and when I went back and watched it, it was plain as day the way he described it. It's like, oh, okay, we both were just retarded, but that was just perfect. There's 360 degrees in the circle, Marines.
Yeah. When he said that, it made sense. I was like, oh, okay. He was telling me he was on a 90-degree azimuth, but the way it came across on the radio was, from his last known position, like I was thinking his last azimuth, he made a 90-degree turn or 90-degree turn. I'm like thinking, well, fucking, what was his original azimuth? Because he wasn't giving me a location update from my position. He was giving me a location update from Jared's position that I didn't know, right? So it was jacked up. And then after that, so that was that one, right? So I didn't have an exact direction and distance from me. So that one was like, fuck, how the hell am I going to find him? Then my next one was he's on a 90-degree azimuth, and he's 300 meters away from the endpoint. And I'm like, well, fuck, I didn't even know where the endpoint was. I was like, where am I in relation to the endpoint? I knew I had a northeast azimuth for the endpoint, but I didn't know, so I got up to the after my relocation, I look at Stoker, I'm like, dude, what's up with these fucking intel updates? I was like, why aren't they like the ones I've been getting all day? From me to him, I'm such and such distance away. So, it was frustrating. And plus it's getting down to the wire. I know Jared's getting close to the extraction, and he's gonna beat me because I came in when the sun went down, and here we have plenty of daylight left. So it's like, fuck. So we're getting in a crunch. It's coming down to the wire, and I'm getting these like intel updates that are significantly less than what I had been getting all day. So it was getting frustrating, and getting close to the wire. So.
Yeah, all right, guys, start throwing in some final questions. So I just want to say I'm giving Eric Coleman some shit here, but all the experience I have, and you guys can back me up on this. Eric came out there for what his experience is. Like, Coleman came out there and freaking kicked ass in season 1. So I'm just giving him shit because I drug him out there, but. He's above and beyond a lot of the general outdoorsmen I know from his performance. And you got to remember, he didn't really have the tactical side, but there's your freebie, Eric, but still fuck off. So here's a good question. All right. So Brent's buddy, Bayonet, now that you've seen the finale, is there anything either would do differently? So Brent's the winner. You get to go first.
So I didn't know that the intel updates weren't like 100%, and shame on me. I should have known better. But I kind of took them at face value, right? Like, hey, direction to enemy is this, and they're such and such distance away. And when I got over there, I looked at where the grunt proof COC was, and I was like, no, there's no way Jared would go and cross that road right in front of that, which he ended up doing, right? And from there, that was like my downhill, because I felt like up to that point, I was controlling the momentum. I felt like I was in control, and I was getting them. But once I got to that point, and I was like, no, I don't think he would have crossed there, because it's not smart, right? You wouldn't cross in front of an enemy vehicle intentionally. And I don't want to use the word overestimate, but honestly, that's what happened. By him doing that, he got the better of me, right? He got a lot of distance on me because of that, because he crossed there, and I assumed that he would not cross in front of that vehicle. I assumed that he would skirt around it, and I set up my next LPOP based on that, presumption that he wouldn't do that. And that cost me dearly. And, my next intel update is like, hey, he's fucking 300 meters away from the endpoint. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm about to lose this.
So I want to explain why I did that too. So right before I crossed the road, I was hiding in the brush over there. And that was right after the drone was up in the air. And I was waiting out the drone, and it turned out that was just Bill getting footage, aerial footage. It wasn't you using your drone perk. But you were up in your LPOP up on top of the hill overlooking that area. So when I came back to go across that road, I came out right where that little side trail was off the main road that went up to, I think, where you were. No, I didn't want to go any further that direction to go across the road. And then when I came up right up to the edge of the road, I did see the headquarters truck, the HQ truck, sitting right there. I'm like, well, I got to take the lesser two evils because I don't know what's around the corner. I mean, it's a linear danger area right there. I don't know what's around the corner on that little side trail right there. I can't see back behind there because of the brush and everything. So I knew kind of the area directly in front of me was safe. I knew at this point the headquarters truck was right there. I couldn't see anyone right around it, and I figured if there was, they were probably standing behind it because that's what people do, is they stand behind their vehicles, especially a truck with a bed or any kind of bed on it. That's where all the equipment is. So if they were standing behind the truck was blocking their view of me. So that's why I crossed right in front of the truck right there.
Yeah, another thing aiding in my presumption that you wouldn't cross there is I had asked the scouts to go up and down that road to try to fix you on that west part of the road to keep you from crossing. So that was
but you can hear them going by on the quads all the time.
Yeah.
So you just wait that out. Wait till the sound diminishes. Make sure the sound is still going away from you and not coming back towards you. And you just have to play that game. Just wait that out and play that game.
Yeah, that was good on. Like I said, good on you, man, because that bought you so much time and distance.
Yeah, it bought me a lot by doing that. But it's picking the lesser of two evils at that point. I could have gone up the road a little further where I was out of view of the truck, the headquarters truck, but I had more of an unknown of what was around that corner on that little side trail, the way it was angled and everything else. You couldn't see back in there. So crossing in front of the truck was definitely the lesser of two evils at that point, I thought.
Did you also have the assumption that that's a good point? You mentioned guys standing in the back of a truck, because that's exactly what we did. Did you also have the assumption that people generally stay near their vehicles? So like when you heard a quad drive by, you didn't assume somebody might just be hanging out squatting in the road without a vehicle?
Yeah, pretty much. People, and I'm not saying this about anybody in particular there, just people in general are lazy and they're going to do what's easiest usually.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, and so knowing the scouts are on the quads going back and forth, they're probably not going to go more than 50 feet away from their quad at any time. And I'm just throwing out numbers, it's kind of guessing. So if the quad's right there, if you come up on a quad that's sitting still and there's nobody around it, guaranteed there's somebody around that you just can't see them yet. So you just got to wait it out, do some recon on that quad. You might have to sit there for 20 minutes for somebody to come back and get on it and drive off. But somebody's around there. But they're not going to be very far from it usually.
Yeah. So once again, guys, I'm taking all this in, and we're updating the future seasons. They're all going to evolve either way. So I think the stuff we added to this one, I think it all worked out really well. But I'm interested to implement new ideas and have more fun with it. So
I like this one from Oregon Mike. Recommend season 3 use bikini girls for scouts. I'm throwing my name in the hat as a volunteer for season 3.
The psyops. I have some contacts down in Reno that I am trying to figure out a twist to this year challenge.
Is the Mustang Ranch still in operation down there?
Yeah. I actually went and ate dinner there. Dinner.
And that was outside of Reno. I think it was in Silver Springs,
Sparks,
something like that.
Around Sparks.
Sparks, yeah.
Or just east or north of it, that other little town. But
dude, the food
there is freaking awesome, man. And everything is half off for military and veterans. So, but I already asked, the women are not half off. So, bummer. We're out here giving people free sponsorships. No, that's not my contact. My contact is actually in Sparks, and yeah. I'm trying, man. Trying to figure it out. I need to be like Mr. Beast. I need $1 million per video, and we're freaking good to go.
So I got a story about the Mustang. I believe it's the Mustang Ranch. So when I was a police officer in Fallon, Nevada, my claim to fame of my arrests that I've ever made was arresting John Wayne Bobbitt, and I'm sure most of everybody knows who he is. Do you know who he is, Randall?
Yeah,
you're giving me
he was a Marine.
Was he? I didn't know that. But anyway, I arrested him. And I think at one point he was part owner or had some kind of ownership in the Mustang Ranch or one of those out there. So, but he was my claim to fame of my arrests when I was a police officer out there in Nevada.
No details. That's it.
I think his incident had already happened. I think they were playing Bobbitt jokes on the radio whenever I put him in the back of the car and took him to jail, if I remember right. And I don't remember a whole lot. He was not a very smart man. He was kind of dumb.
We ended up being an asshole, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's why she chopped him up.
Yeah, he was complete dick.
So that was I guess that was one of the first gender reassignment surgeries.
I guess so.
But
involuntary, I guess.
And the whole live stream's getting taken out.
I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought he got a new package.
There was rumors that he got one that they put it on upside down too. I don't know.
Well, that was like back in the 80s, man. So I can't imagine they're fucking it up these days.
I would have been like, can you give me a few more extra inches? You know, since we're got to do it anyways. Some skin grafts or something. Come on, man. Hook it up.
So Coleman asked if you had to pat him down.
I probably did. I don't remember now. I mean, it was 25 years ago.
So this guy's asking why the stream's going down a bad path. Dude, you guys can look that up. Public records, man. You can FOIA everything.
Why did I arrest him? Oh, if I remember right, it was for fictitious plates on his vehicle, no driver's license, and no insurance or something. I think I stopped him for speeding.
Well, that just sounds like good old American stuff. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it wasn't anything. Wasn't anything major, but
there was a MacV SOG guy. I can't remember his name, but he was like a legend because of everything he did outside after his career. But he did stuff like not stop at any traffic signs or lights at all. You guys will have to look up. I heard it on the Team House podcast when they interviewed Stryker Mayer. He's one of the more famous guys, but he was telling the story about this dude. But he just didn't stop at traffic lights. He's like, I'm not going to let a machine tell me. He's like, I can see if there's cars coming. So I heard that. I'm like, yeah, that's awesome, man. Stupid fucking light blinking at me.
He had no fucks to give.
No, he was like a genius in that world, but that was part of his personality, like zero fucks. All right, so guys, SERE challenge questions.
Sorry, I took us off on a little tangent there.
It's all good, man. It's a veteran freaking podcast, so they
Jared,
get what they get.
I don't think Jared answered. Would you change anything, Jared? What would you change?
Oh, no, I don't think I did.
He started thinking about penises, man, as a Navy guy.
Yeah, upside down penises at that. No, throughout the course, probably not. I would have put camo paint on, I think. I mean, everybody was giving me shit for not putting camo paint on, but for the whole duration of the SERE challenge, me and Brett never even saw each other until that very last day. So I think that was a moot point at that point. I don't think it really mattered. Had I had camo paint on whenever me and Brent saw each other, would have it mattered? I don't think it would have. I don't think it would have made a difference at all. I think he would have seen me just as easily with or without it.
I think somebody asked something about our uniforms, if we would change our uniforms up. And so me to answer that question for me, like, no, I mean, I even pitched it to my audience, you know, like before the challenge, like, what do you guys recommend? And just looking at the photos, I thought, you know, a faded M81 woodland camouflage pattern would work very well. And I thought it blended in very well. And
yeah, I thought your woodland did great.
Yeah. Concurrently, your multicam obviously worked well.
Yeah, I think either pattern works very well out there, you know, and it was in the fall. So summertime would have made a difference. I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll find out when we go back out in May, but yeah, both patterns worked extremely well out there.
I think you guys are sissies because Coleman came out there in short sleeves and shorts and his freaking surfer bro hat. And I was like, dude, you want some long sleeves? He's like, why? I think his first 10 minutes of crawling, he was like, dude, my arms are all fucked up. And I'm like, yeah, you think, man? Yeah. So Coleman would probably change that. So I keep seeing a rematch or a fuck you call it, man, like a challenger episode, Coleman versus Brent.
We need to get Brenton and Stoker to go against each other, and me and Coleman to go against each other. The two losers and the two winners.
What is this, brackets?
Yeah.
As teams. That'll be the team version.
I say you don't get a shot at the title, man. You gotta you know, get some wins on your belt.
Oh yeah, people have asked about that too. There's some team additions in the works. I would love to do teams with total noobs, like zero experience, and experts. I think that would be pretty fun because two badasses out there, they're going to be doing OPs back and forth, and you know it'll be interesting. But I think making a guy drag some dead weight would I think that would make it more interesting.
So wait, are you saying a real experienced guy with a noob, or two noobs versus two experienced guys?
Yeah, no, an experienced guy with a noob
okay.
Versus another experienced guy with a noob. I mean, if you put two noobs versus two badasses, like,
or you can put two noobs against one badass.
Badasses lose, you know, they're getting their badges taken away from them.
Yeah.
But you never know. I mean, what if we could get a freaking sprinter or marathon runner out there and he just says fuck all y'all and just runs.
You know, and so much of this course, this challenge is just plain dumb luck, I think, too. You know, it was dumb luck that I popped up out of there, and right prior to that, the bush moved like it did. That was just dumb luck, you know, against me and for Brent that happened. You know, just one of those things.
Yeah, it was unlucky that you know brought his attention to you when he was looking that way.
Right. I mean, it's just one of those things. Had that not happened and I popped up out of there, Brent might have turned around and started walking the other way and never even saw me. You know, just that split second that got his attention, kept his attention in that direction. Yep, and you know, and had it not, he could have turned around and walked away, and I could have sat there for another 20 minutes or so until he cleared the area and just walked on into the extraction point. You know, it's, yes, a lot of this is skill and mindset and whatnot, but a lot of it just comes down to that one stupid thing that happens or doesn't happen and just dumb luck.
Well, that reemphasizes what I mentioned a couple episodes ago about how serious it is out there. There's very little margin for error, and so that kind of comes into play because you did have about 5 hours to figure out how you could get up there, and like you said, it's just that one tiny little mistake, and Brent happened to be looking that way. So,
right, exactly.
That goes back to the people who, you know, well, I've only seen a couple knucklehead comments, you know, like about it being too easy and stuff, and it's like, no, man, you slip up once and you're done.
Well, on that same note, what if granola bars had been in Jared's gear when he took off, and you two didn't have to do that link up? Because
Exactly.
I mean, because you were heading, I'm watching the episode, and it's like I'm seeing and knowing what my plan was, and it seemed like you were heading in that direction. So
Right.
and that's
Right.
another one of those dumb luck things. Like, had the granola bars been in here, you two would have never had that link up, and you would have never had that like on the spot
Absolutely.
relocation perk where it's like, Randall knows the location. He's like, oh, hey, you got to come up here because if you go this way, you're done for. So
Maybe I didn't put his food in there on purpose. It was a setup.
So what you're telling me is you didn't put the ship paper in there on purpose.
Yeah. Next time there's going to be like pine cones in there. I'm going to have a toilet paper like wrapper, like a baby white wrapper with like pine cone shavings in it.
There is some pine cone footage that's coming up in the next episode, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, by the way, guys, I kept calling that the last episode and the finale, but that was because it was Jared's, last chance to get up there. But we do have a final episode coming where you guys get to see us a little more behind the scenes and some of the blooper reels. I actually did have to scrub some of it, unfortunately, because some people in these groups are still serving. So
yeah,
the downside of that.
There's that.
I don't give a shit, but yeah, I can't just be outing everybody. So I saw airsoft and paintball. Those are considerations, but I did see Miles gear, and Miles gear it's awesome. It's a way to go. I think the blank fire would definitely make like the captures and all that stuff more interesting. But for people who don't know, you can also go watch Brent goes out there to the One Shepherd training, and you can actually watch in Winter Forge. You can watch these firefights in action, and it's fun as hell, and it's good training. But there's also a serious environmental consideration. You could be 50 meters from a guy shooting right at him, and if there's like a tiny little pine needle or leaf or something, you're just giving your position away then. So that stuff is in the works though. So I'm trying to figure out, how we can work it in there without it becoming just a firefight, because we want to try to keep this kind of like a stealthy cat and mouse game. But yeah, those ideas are in there.
Yeah, Miles is great in its own right, but it's like you got to take all the simulation systems, right? So your airsoft, your paintball, your sim rounds, your Miles, like they all have their own drawbacks. They're all have their good aspects in certain areas, but they all have major deficiencies. Miles, the big plus for that one is you can have real combat engagement ranges, right? You can have firefights at 500 meters, but the problem is, vegetation, stuff that would not stop actual rounds will stop that Miles laser, and that's its big drawback. So it's like you get those real engagement distances, but you have concealment able to stop what would be real 5.56 rounds or whatever caliber you're using, whereas in real life that wouldn't happen. But guess what? If you're using airsoft, if you're using sim rounds, you ain't having firefights at the distance. That's not even humanly possible. So
yeah, CQB out in the forest.
Yeah.
And Miles gear is expensive as hell too.
Oh, and there's a lot of red tape around it, right? So like, there's a whole story behind how One Shepherd acquired Miles gear, and it's like it's not easy. It's not like you can go on, some website and order it. There's a whole lot of there's contracts involved and background. It's crazy.
Yeah, we're gonna work some of that stuff in there, at least to have some gunfire going on. So yeah, it's like I said, I just really want to try to avoid it just becoming straight out fights. But that's my only issue with it, Plus,
and the other
giving guys equipment, you're also adding equipment. That's another consideration, weight and all that.
Right. we also got to remember, like, this is not a force on force event. This is a SERE challenge, right? You're an escapee from a POW camp. Like, you're not, chances are when you escape, you're not going to be armed to the teeth, right? You saw a small window to escape and you took it. You're lucky that you get away with the gear in hand. So, people thinking that, this needs to be some sort of force on force thing. That's not what this is. It's not what SERE is.
Yeah. And the main benefit I could see to it is making a guy pay if he exposes himself, 100 meters away, and knowing that maybe hypothetically the hunter can't get to him because of manzanitas or whatever. He's like, hey, come get me. In real life, you wouldn't do that anyway because you'd get shot in the face, but it would also make the guy pay. But, it's all just part of like the fun and planning it and stuff. But another question I saw earlier, a guy was asking, I think it was your buddy Bayonet again. But by the way, I told Brent that he doesn't watch the live stuff, but bureaucrat, I told him about you never losing faith in him, even though that poll was looking pretty against Brent for a while. People saw Jared flying and they were like, shit, he's got it, man.
I went on there like 30 minutes after you guys sent that message, and I voted for myself to win, right? And it was like, oh, but now it was at 50-50. And I looked at the vote total. It was like 8 people. So you guys can suck a dick. There was probably
when I went
at that time. You took that picture.
I know you tagged everybody on all of your pages, like, guys, go vote for me right now.
Yeah, when I went and looked at it, it was 50-50.
Yeah, well, yeah, that was early on. I had just posted it, and I'm like, ooh, Jared's guys are in here early.
I'll allow bureaucrat Bayonet back on my camp. So I had disowned him, but I'll allow him back. He's redeemed himself.
Oh, but okay, yeah, but he was asking what exact changes, how I'm going to beef up the hunter more. And dude, you're just going to have to watch. I'm going to tease it a little bit in the new trailer when that's up. But yeah, the hunter is going to. I thought we definitely beefed him up this time versus the last season, but you guys want to see a stronger hunting team, so we're going to do it for sure. And yeah, it's definitely it's an ass kicker for the survivor, I think, definitely with the physical challenge and all that, but it's really going to suck in the future. So future contestants, beware.
I'm going to say, out of the 4 people who have, been a survivor, 3 of us have either gotten to the end point or gotten very damn close. So I think right now there's a benefit to the survivor and the ability to get to the end point. So there's room for increased hunter capabilities to try to narrow that down and make it tougher.
Yeah, and we've also you guys have been in on a lot of these talks. We do AARs after each one, and I get their input, and then me and Stoker talk about stuff. Well, me and the team, we always talk about stuff, but yeah, there's also, you're going to see more skill stuff popping up. So if any of you guys were bummed that it was so quick, that'll be worked on as well. I'm not sure about the 24-hour time limit because of the way we're going to beef it up, but you definitely will see, they're going to have to adapt a little more to the environment. So it's funny, people who watch this and might come out and compete in future ones, like if they know how this stuff goes, they're probably like, man, these guys are out there sucking balls in this terrain and stuff, and they're talking about beefing it up even more. Like, what the hell is going to happen out there? Getting waterboarded in 19-degree temperatures, bitches.
Waterboarding and blow torches to the eyeballs.
I do have to say though, I'm gonna be one of those crusty old timers back in my day, guys. But I watched an overview of the full SERE school not too long ago, and I think I shared it in our group. But from what they were saying, man, they've softened some stuff up. I was kind of disappointed. I got the crusty old badge protector SERE version over there in Germany because there was no flagpole nearby. So they did some pretty fucked up stuff to us. But one thing in particular, the guy, He's like, yeah, they could be wet. They could be wet for 15 minutes. And I was like, what? That's just one of those. You guys can go find that video because I've also watched that. I'm like, well, fuck, man. The SERE Challenge 2 has already been a little bit tougher. We didn't punch Brent in the face. All right, so final questions, guys. Get them out there. All right, so by the way, the episode 10 will be the truly final one, and we're not going to do a live chat after that because that will be pretty much the wrap up for the season. So I'll go ahead and do it now. Freedom says, "Don't worry, Brent, you're still pretty." So we'll go ahead and do that now. Final thoughts from the contestants for the entire event. So winner goes first. What you got, Brent? Fire for effect.
Oh, I just thought it was a fantastic opportunity, and I thank Randall for reaching out to me. And I thank I can't remember his name, but there was some random YouTube user guy that posted a comment on one of Randall's questions on his channel, like, hey, who do you want to see compete in the next SERE challenge? And this random guy set this whole thing in motion. So if it wasn't for him, this would have never happened. But kudos to Randall for following up with that and reaching out to me. And I never heard, back then it was called the Survival Games. I had never heard of it, and then I watched the first season and I fell in love with it, and I was like, dude, hell yeah, I want to do this. So I appreciate him, reaching out to me and doing this, and Stoker and all the other support staff that were out there. They just did a fantastic job, and to see, and again, season 1 was great, but to see the changes that they made to facilitate season 2, oh man, night and day difference. And it was just a fantastic opportunity, and I wouldn't change a thing. I had an absolute blast. It was a great challenge, and it was just a good opportunity. And there was a lot of footage that actually didn't make it into the show, and regardless, it still came out fantastic. So I'm looking forward to seeing the next episode with all the bloopers and highlights and all that stuff. So I think it's gonna be great.
All righty, Jared, runner up, also kicked ass, by the way. It's all yours, man.
Vertical again there. Yeah, I think the blooper reel, if you put a lot of those bloopers in next week, is going to be great. So how I got into this SERE challenge is I watched season 1 about this time last year. Might have been a little bit later, maybe around this time, I guess. And watched it once or twice. I'm like, this is, like Brent said, fell in love with it. I said, this is probably the greatest thing I've ever seen. And I looked up Randall's channel and found his email, and I sent him an email, never thinking in a million years that he would even respond to me. I'm just a nobody, and I was just kind of throwing it out there, and by chance he emailed me back the next day, and I had no clue that he was in Germany, and I thought he was in California. So I'm getting this email at odd times of the day, because there's a 6 or 8 hour difference. I'm like, well, that's an odd time for him to send an email, because it would have been really late here in the States. So he sent me an email and said, hey, and gave me a form to fill out, I believe, and I filled it out and sent that back to him the next day or 2 days after that. He got back to me again and said, hey, you're in, dude, come on out. And I had to read it a couple times. Because I'm a nobody. I'm not even a YouTuber. So I didn't really kind of believe it at first. But then we started corresponding and everything, and getting everything set up. But it was probably the best opportunity I've ever had. It was just an amazing event with some amazing people out there, and I hope we can keep our season 2 SERE group going for a long time. And I think somebody made a comment I saw about a reunion. Hopefully I gave Brent a little bit of run for his money. I don't think he was expecting quite what he had from me out there. So I'm hoping it kind of played his mind a little bit. But it was just an awesome thing to do, and I'm just very grateful I was invited to come out there and do it with you guys.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, it's it's an evolving thing, and as long as I have guys coming out to compete and staff to help me, I'm gonna fucking do it. So I appreciate you guys coming out and putting yourselves through this. It's a very tough event, but it's fun as hell. And by the way, Jared was not the only one that put in for this season. So I think I had 11 other people submit that form. So he beat them out. We pretty much have the contestants. We have the 2 that should come out for the next one. They're not 100%, but they're mostly there. So that's all going to be announced later. And it's going to be announced at the place where it's supposed to be. You guys will know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. So this is pretty much it, guys. Any alibis? Last minute? Any extra rounds to fire?
I did want to add one thing. I talked to you about it real briefly, Randall. I'm going to do a video of, and it's going to be a short video of the different escape things that I had on my person whenever you guys captured me. I'm going to do a video of everything that I did to prepare and where I place things on my uniform and on my body and whatnot. And I don't really have an first official YouTube video on my channel yet, but I'm going to try to, I think I'm going to make that my introduction in my official first video on there. There's a couple other stupid videos there right now, but hopefully in the next week or so, I can make that and get that uploaded. So if you guys want to see that, I'll try to do as good a job on it as I can. I'm still learning this YouTube thing, and I'm really struggling with the video editing part of it right now and trying to learn that. So, but hopefully in the next week or so, I can something up on that. And it's not going to be anything impressive or anything, but I'm just going to show you what I did and kind of what I did to prepare to come out.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I'm pretty sure everybody here knows Brent's channel, Brent0331. So that's how we found each other. And Jared, as you just mentioned, so his name's up there on the screen too. 2 Alpha Solutions. So yep. Make sure you guys.
Jared's been jumping on the live streams I have every Monday too. So
yep.
And I appreciate it, Brent. That's been, that's helping me on camera. I don't have any camera experience, so I feel like I'm very awkward on it. I think I'm getting a little bit better at it, but I appreciate you bringing me on there. I really enjoy doing that.
I appreciate having it. I mean, like you mentioned earlier, that we have the signal group with the SERE challenge still going, still going strong. So, and just as much shit talking.
Every day. Maybe not every day, maybe every other day, but we have our lives that we live, but we talk shit when we can.
Yeah. And that was a PsyOps campaign, by the way, fellas. I'm not that arrogant, but I was hoping I could get under his skin and get into his head a little bit, but it's kept going.
Randall, do you have my response video to Brent's bench pressing video?
You'll have to remind me offline.
With the horse.
All right, yeah.
Okay.
It was our first shit talking that we did. Brent sends me a video of him doing his bench press, and then he comes up and he's, "I'm coming for you, Jared." And then I sent him a video of this huge draft horse, and I just pick this leg up. The leg is twice the size of Brent. And I was like, "Yeah, that's cute, Brent. This is what I do every day."
Is that the one that got a horse dick photoshopped into it?
Yeah,
no, that was Brent's picture there.
That was my response. Yeah, it was funny. So It was if you guys watched I think it's episode 1 where Stoker's driving there. He's like, he's filming himself as he's driving. He's like, yeah, these two have been having a little psyops campaign against each other. It really was. It was videos and pictures back and forth, trying to psych each other out before the challenge. It was a good time.
It was a pretty good time.
Yeah. All right. So on that note, guys, that's going to bring me to my final thoughts. And then I got a little outro, and I'll see you guys shortly after that. So for me, the main thing is priority number one is the event, that it goes successful, everybody survives, and they get some training out of it, and they have fun. But what I've learned after this second episode, the second season, they kind of hinted at it, is the collaboration. So there's a lot of great channels out there on YouTube. There's a lot of great outdoorsmen and people doing stuff. And sometimes you see some collaboration, but not to brag too much, but I haven't seen collaboration this in depth. Definitely not on the outdoor channels. So that was a win that I didn't expect that benefit until after it actually happened. So meeting these like-minded individuals, getting out there and just having an awesome time out there in the woods. And as we were going through the planning and stuff, even up to the first season, I kept joking with Coleman and those guys like, hey man, if it all goes to shit and it's just horrible, just look at it as a fun camping trip, with like-minded dudes. So yeah, that was just an extra benefit, and we're going to keep this shit going. So I definitely appreciate you guys, the viewers, tuning into this, but I definitely have to give a major shout out to everybody involved, season 1 included, and Brent and Jared in this season. And, definitely a big shout out to Stoker Matic. He helped behind the scenes and is definitely helping me improve this thing. So lastly, the staff. A lot of them don't want to be named, but you guys know who you are. You guys definitely help make this thing great. So with that, we are out of here, and make sure you tune in to episode 10, which will be the last one. And then after that, I'll see y'all in season 3.
Thank you.